The harmonics of a frequency is the mathematically precise combination and sequencing of frequency changes that create both a perceived solid object and a dynamic sequence of movements between those perceived solid objects. All dynamic sequences in precise order are harmonics of a frequency and function in a linear sequence of waves within the media of potential energy, moving to form a standing wave or a node. This movement to form a standing wave or to form a node is a flow or a current in the ether, and this current is gravity. All objects, big and small, are the result of this gravity flow. A planet, a star, or a black hole are formed in their precise locations because there is a gravity flow in that location converging there, and its harmonics of a frequency create a standing point or node known as the object. So, no object, big or small, has gravity. Gravity is not the result of mass and matter. Gravity is what forms mass and matter, and it is directly proportional. Swaruu Ofera, Stellar Navigation, 2019. In our understanding, gravity is the flow, or the direction and strength of attention of a consciousness. The more attention from that primordial consciousness something has, the bigger and denser an object will be. So, contrary to Earth science understanding, an object's mass does not create a gravity field or flow. On the contrary, the object exists and has mass because there is a concentration of gravity there in that precise spot in space. A flow of creative intention called gravity will form an object with mass. Mari Swaruu, Consciousness, Oneness, Gravity, and the Numerical Universe, 2022. For more information about gravity, see the 2 above videos. Links in the description box. Originally in Spanish, 2019. As a base, the Earth is 1g. 1g is equivalent to 1 Earth's gravity. Compared to Earth, Erra and Temer have 80% of Earth's gravity. Procyon, 120% of Earth. Dakota, 70% of Earth. Note from Yazhi. Earth is 1g at sea level, not 0.8g as on other planets. Procyon then has more gravity than here? Yes, 120% or 1.2g terrestrial. This means that on Procyon you weigh 20% more. Yes, more weight. It's hard to be there. Wow, and why is there more gravity than here? The planet is big. But it's big because it's in a gravity point that generates it. It is bigger than the Earth. But this is not necessarily as a rule. It's more a matter of the density of the matter of a planet. Another chat, 2023. Originally in Spanish. Question from someone. Why does the Earth have more gravity than other planets? Does it have to do with the amount of consciousness attention it receives? But why would it be?
Because it contains more consciousnesses, which are the same. As simple as that. It receives a lot of attention from the etheric field. Why is that? Well, that is already a matter of the source itself. I cannot know. That is already something very above. Because it gives contrast to other planets, or because it simply has many attachments to the ideas that form the Earth and all that it contains. Because there is more mass. More mass means that there is a nexus point of gravity at that point.
Or maybe because it has a lot of attention from many consciousnesses of many races cumulatively.
Yes, also, everything adds up.
But wait, we have planets that are very large in mass, but their gravity, as in difficulty of walking, is not high. So why is it here?
Because there is more concentration of consciousness at that point, creating a node in the potential energy field. The ultimate why is beyond me.
Okay. And what is the difference between gravity and magnetism? How does magnetism fit in here? If two magnets attract each other, does it have anything to do with it? Or is it something else entirely?
Magnetism can emulate gravity when it is modulated at a very high frequency similar to gravity, as in artificial gravity generating devices. But it is not the same. Also, centrifugal forces generate the illusion of gravity, and it is also used in spacecrafts. Gravity is a flow or direction of the thought sequence of a consciousness, whether of source or of an insect. What that flow of consciousness is, it is not known. It is only known that it is there, and that what receives attention is reinforced or formed. Magnetism is only a flow of charges in a generally metallic medium. Generally, it is generated by electric currents and is retained by the charges of polarities in the molecules that make up the metal or the material with magnetic properties.
Okay, consciousness doesn't play a role there.
In the end, consciousness plays a role in everything, because it is the only thing there is.
Yes, but not in the sense that consciousness generates it there as the direct source.
It's just that everything is consciousness, and in one way or another, it is always consciousness that generates everything directly. For example, that old saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make noise? The truth is yes, because there is always something that is there perceiving and creating with its consciousness. The tree itself, for example. There is always something that is perceiving it.
Yes, I understand. But you said that magnetism is just a flow of charges in a generally metallic medium. So consciousness does not create this kind of magnetism in the same way as it creates gravity. Because if we say yes, well then consciousness creates everything. Electric cars, storms, the Kabbalah itself, etc. But now we are dissecting from the more specific level.
Yes, it depends on levels. Okay, you are comparing gravity consciousness with magnetism electricity. But gravity consciousness encompasses everything else, including magnetism electricity. That is, screw is part of car. Car includes that screw.
Okay, but if you have two magnets that attract each other, there is no electricity there.
Yes, there is, but not in the form of current outside the object itself. The electric charge is contained in the molecules of the material itself. That is, the magnetic material retains a definite charge, like a battery.
Another chat, 2023, originally in English. If there is matter because there is gravity, why doesn't matter disintegrate when we nullify gravity, like in a spaceship? Because that is not nullifying gravity. That is nullifying one single specific effect of gravity, as it is not one single frequency, it is many. Like radio waves, there are countless gravity waves as well. And it is the ones in the highest frequencies that are the ones responsible for manifesting existing objects. And yes, if you nullify that gravity, then things do disintegrate. Okay, and I have this question from someone. Can you measure gravity like we do? I mean, are we doing it right? Mass over mass times distance squared? That formula helps to understand, but it's backwards. But it helps, yes. What would be the correct one then? How do you backtrack that formula? The formula is okay to understand how things interact between each other. But backwards, I mean, it's the gravity which is creating the mass, not the mass the gravity. But there is one basic big mistake there. Gravity is not a constant. In that formula, they place it as if it were. That changes everything. Athena showing the formula for gravity. F is equal to G times the product of their masses, m1, m2, divided by the square of the distance between them, r2. There is the G. So, gravity not being a constant, this relates to my next question. It fluctuates as it's affected constantly by consciousness movements around. How do you update the gravity frequency maps then when you space and time travel? How do you keep obtaining the new addresses all the time? How is that even done with gravity and all not being constants? Using sensors, interferometers. It has to be mapped as we go along. And it can be calculated to know what it will be in each place in space, using gravitational formulas, which are not that one. You have a frequency address in the navigation computer. That address is gravity, a gravity map. But it's not a constant, it changes all the time. It changes, but formulas can predict how. But you need powerful computers. It's not that difficult once you have the data. What about traveling in the past? Can the computers access that to create new gravity maps? But what if it's way in the past where the computers didn't register anything? Then how can you go back there? Someone had to be there to map it, to use its frequency map for guidance. And it can be calculated as well, although that is not very accurate. If you don't have the map, you can't go back, as simple as that. You can calculate your map, but it will not be the same past as the one you want to go to. The more accurate your gravity map is, the more accurate your time jump will be. But each single moment and tiny place everywhere, that's a whole new map. To be mapping it all out and keeping records, it must be billions upon billions of maps. And it's constantly changing on top of it. That's why you need quantum holographic computers. A lot of computing power. But you don't need to register everything. as the frequency area tends to fill in your gaps automatically. Okay, and another curiosity of mine. Why is gravity a pull in the first place and not a push, for example? It's neither. It's only a current, as water. But a current does pull you in one direction or another. It is not neutral. It has a definite flow vector, yes. It presses everything like a water current presses a leaf against a rock in a river. Why does it do that? Why does it have any visible effect at all? Without it, you wouldn't have discovered gravity in the first place, perhaps? But why do we all walk on the ground, and why is it difficult to walk up than to walk down? Because of the same reason, it's difficult to walk upstream or to paddle upstream. Precisely, but why is that current there in the first place? Maybe for us to know it exists, to interact with it? Because the frequency that is manifesting matter dictates the vector of the flow. The only way to explain this completely is with the complete theory of manifestation. It's all there. I see, okay. I will have to revisit that. And why is it hard to go up? There is no up and down, really. Still, it's harder to go up. You are going against the current. Up and down, that is only relative to the vector of the flow of gravity. The current is flowing in the direction pointing downwards. Must have to do with the core of the planet itself, the current going towards it. Because gravity is flowing towards the center of a planet. That's why there is a planet in the first place. That's why matter accumulated in that place, in space, and formed a planet. So, the human body is receiving that current as well, obviously. Yes, it's everywhere. We all must be thankful to gravity for choosing to be detectable then. Otherwise, so much technology would not be available. Forget all frequency maps. Yes. And there is a very wide spectrum of gravity frequencies, like there are many frequencies of radio waves. I was about to ask, what else is it used for? In what other technologies do you use gravity? Mainly for telecommunications and for propulsion, as in anti-gravity engines. Those are all over the place. Another chat, originally in English, 2023. Interferometers versus spectrometers. Is detecting a gravity field around the person a sign then that the person is real, in contrast to the NPC with no real or strong gravity current around him? Is that what is meant? That when you throw the interferometer on the person, the reading returns nothing, like a signpost? The gravity field of a soul is too weak to be detected by normal interferometers. The signal of the soul is very high frequency, and it's easily confused with everything else, because, strictly speaking, everything that exists has some connection to source, that is, a soul of some kind. That's why spectrometers are used for that, but they are terribly inexact, as you know.
Gravity does not really exist as such, as it is only an allegory of the mind that is placing attention onto whatever.
What do you mean it doesn't exist?
Everything is mind. That flow is like potential energy becoming something, the putty in the hands of a sculptor. There is no gravity as humans see it. It's a flow in all directions, depending on where something with the mind is looking. Sensors detect gravity all right, but they must see it by its effects and not directly. As in, you can detect a ship by seeing its wake, but not the ship itself. Gravity is a mind. Gravity is a thought. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are gravity.
But when you throw the interferometer on a person, what is the device reading?
You can detect the body, not the soul. A person, as such, has mass and is perfectly detectable, but you cannot tell if source is in that body your machine is detecting. The interferometer cannot detect the soul. Even your bathroom scale detects your mass, right? Mass and gravity go hand in hand, but you are detecting the matter energy, not if there is a connection to source coming from there or not. Interferometer only detects mass and gravity of a thing, not the soul. Soul signal is something else. There is no signal, by the way, as it's not connecting to source because it is already source.
But Aneka said you throw an interferometer on a person and it's like a lamppost, no soul.
That was using spectroscopes, not interferometers. Do not confuse them. One looks at the colors of the auric field and the other gravity and mass displacements. Interferometer looks at gravity and mass. Spectrometer looks only at colors. Spectrometers are found on Earth, primitive ones though, and interferometers on Earth are as large as a city, when here they are as large as a parking sensor for a car, those which fit inside your closed fist.
Another chat, originally in Spanish. 2023. Question from a follower. If gravity is a focus of consciousness, and this gravity or consciousness is creating mass, how fast does it create this mass? How long would it take to create a planet? I ask because this means that if we, with a ship, moved the planet Earth, then the point or node of gravity that inhabits the Earth would follow its rotation around the Sun, but the planet would move away from this node of consciousness. The planet we have extracted would have no gravity, because it is not the mass that generates it. And the gravitational consciousness node would start to create another planet, no? The same would happen with all mass created from energy by machines. For example, the moon. If the moon is artificial and there is no consciousness inhabiting it, then it won't have gravity either. Have I misunderstood?
Let's go by parts. How long would it take to create a planet? Speed is relative to the consciousness that generates it and only to it. There is no speed as such, since speed is tied to the time that is generated by the consciousness. It is not a question of how long it takes, for we have no reliable time reference. Each group of consciousnesses, like that of planets, has its own time frame. There is no way to calculate it, and what terrestrial science says is only from its point of view, and from outside the Earth, that scientific context is no longer valid. Another part of the question was, if we were to move the planet Earth with a ship, the planet would move away from the node of consciousness. The planet that we have extracted would have no gravity because the mass is not the one that generates it. And the gravitational consciousness node would start to create another planet, no? It can't move away because they are not two separate things. The consciousness node is the planet, or what is interpreted as planet. They are not separable. If you move the planet, you move the node that generates it. Just as when you move a simple pencil, you are also moving the node that generates it. If you have the ability to move a planet or to destroy it, you are changing the gravitational mathematical matrix that generates it. That is to have great power, and the races here do. And as the saying goes, with great power you also have great responsibility. Planets are not inert. Nothing is inert. Everything is consciousness and has its own consciousness. There is no difference in destroying a building with dynamite than destroying a planet. You are breaking into the mathematics that is creating it. Everything you change, build, or destroy affects the mathematical field that surrounds it. The mathematics here, with its equations, is a conscious attempt to explain gravity and how things affect each other, because everything is connected. Another part of the question: the same would be true of all mass created from energy by machines, for example, the moon. If the moon is artificial and there is no consciousness inhabiting it, then it will not have gravity either. Have I misunderstood? It doesn't matter. The moon is nothing more than a huge spacecraft. The minds of its builders and those who keep it there are shaping it, as well as the very consciousness of the materials that create it. I insist on seeing all this as a mathematical dance, that if you move something, you create a long chain of effects that sustain what you have moved. As it happens when you insert something in a matrix, as Mari says, into a contained system, you will also create the energetic mathematical context that supports the existence of the new foreign object. And that is the basis for the creation of mirrors and so on. As we have explained before, you cannot insert an object from outside a contained system without also creating the process by which it exists in that system as well. That is why different contained systems do not correspond, because when you insert a person into another system, you also create why he is there, just as if you insert a pencil. And the last question was, and the gravitational consciousness node would start creating another planet, no? No, because you are moving the gravity dynamics and its mathematics with the planet. Again, they are not two different things, and one thing cannot exist without its corresponding energetic mathematical node.